Hey guys, my name's Alex Broek and you are watching the Aca-Weekly.
Tell me something.
So on last week's episode of the Aca-Weekly, I kind of took you through my process when it comes to arranging music. And this week, I'm here to answer a few questions that you've left me about arranging. So let's jump straight into it. First question, let's go. Do you have a favorite arrangement? Both one you did and one somebody else did? Oh. Richard Steigner, you are asking me the hard question straight away here. There's no way I'm going to be able to pick just one. I'm too much of a nerd, I'm so sorry. But in terms of arrangements I've done, I guess what comes to mind would be Love Look Down by Kanye West. I did a really cool version of that for MVP. I'm also a sucker for the arrangement I did for the Macabellas. I did a really cool and fun version of Grace Kelly by Mika. Then I think a few years ago I did a really fun version of Levels by Nick Jonas and gave it to some of my high school kids and they loved it. So I would say those three. In terms of arrangements that somebody else has done, there would just be way too many to think about. But first things that come to my head would be Creeks by the Nor'easters and Alive by the Vasa Devils, those two in particular. But then on a completely opposite side would be Top of the World by Nomadic. I am obsessed with that arrangement. I think anybody that's getting their start in arranging, listen to both like collegiate a cappella style stuff where you've got so many voices, and then go and listen to a vocal band like Nomadic or Accent or whoever you choose, so you can really pick up the differences between big group arranging and then small group arranging. But yeah, definitely those three. Oh, that's too hard. How do you put vocal percussion into an arrangement? So that's probably actually something I've only really been doing in the last 2 or 3 years or so. Usually when I was arranging, I would just arrange it without vocal percussion written in. And I'm not much of a beatboxer personally. I like to think I can, but I really can't. So often what I would do is when I'd send an arrangement off, I would record myself either slapping my desk or sometimes body percussion, recording like the sounds that I wanted and then sending it to the VP and saying, this is kind of the groove, do what you want with it. But in more recent years, in the last 2 years or so, I've physically been notating out the percussion lines. Unless there's any significant fills that I would like to stay in the arrangement, I'll usually just do a basic few different grooves and then give it to the vocal percussionist and they'll do what they want with it. Everyone's going to have their own phrasing or their own ways of doing snares and kicks and so on. So I think it's always good to let your vocal percussionists have room to explore what they want to do with the song as well. Next question. Yay, Alex! I'd love to know a bit more about how you build the layers in your arrangements. You manage to make things rhythmically interesting, but in a way where it all magically meshes together. Do you have any tips for creating musically interesting arrangements that are still not too hard for a group to learn? Crystal, you are too kind. Thank you. I think for me, I like to play with textures, but at the same time, I think there is beauty in space. So I think having moments of both when you're crafting an arrangement can be a really cool thing to have. I'm not formally trained in jazz vocal improvisation or scat, but I love doing it. I think sometimes if I'm coming up with different like textural elements to an arrangement, I'll play like the phrase or the 4-bar pattern or whatever it is over and over and just come up with stuff. Sometimes I'll try different things that's kind of just on the one note, then I'll try things that move around a little bit more. And I think just playing with different improvisation tools can be a really great way to build up the textures. Another question, Alex the Queen. Oh, Jess, stop. I would love to know what draws you to certain songs to arrange. Are there some songs you've started to arrange and realized it isn't fitting right or doesn't vibe? Thanks, you're a legend. That is really true. Reading that back, there have been so many times that I've heard an idea in my head and I just haven't been able to get it out on paper, and it's been really devastating. But usually for me, if I hear something, like hear a song, hear a recording, and then I start getting ideas of where I want to take it, that's how I know usually that it's going to be a good arranging project for me. As I was saying before, with texture and space, if there's a song that has room for that to happen, then that can usually be a good indication as well of whether it's a good song to arrange. Hopefully that answers your question. That's all I have time to pack into for you today. I could just ramble about a cappella arranging literally all day. So if ever you want to chat more about arranging, hit me up. Always happy to talk to you about it. Otherwise, be sure to subscribe to the Vocal Australia YouTube channel. They are putting out some amazing work on it, if I do say so myself. So make sure you subscribe so you never miss any of it. Otherwise, thank you so much for having me. Catch you around.
Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode of the Aca-Weekly by Vocal Australia. Be sure to subscribe to our channel to stay up to date.